Okay. You are welcome. The floor is open. Anybody with any revelations, any problems, any ideas, insights, what have you? Please, you have the floor. Share whatever you have, revelation or problem, issues, or whatever. What's up, Gabo?
No, I don't have any issue yet.
Okay. Dr. Boyson.
Oh, no, not really. I think we hammered a few of the questions yesterday, so I'm sure new ones will come up.
Auntie Quinley, do you have something? First Lady Mabel. Okay. The text we are dealing with, the call of Abraham. Last week, we dealt with this, and today we'll go further and further into this puzzling text. The question we want to deal with, and actually we started last week. Did Abraham really obey God? And one of the facts we dealt with was, the issues we dealt with in actual fact was to really locate where the text, where God must have spoken to Abraham for him to move from the Ur of the Chaldeans to the land that he, God, will show Abraham. Because the Bible says in Genesis 12 starts by this strange, or call it interesting phrase. Now the Lord has said unto Abraham. Now the Lord had said unto Abraham. Had, right? Which we said actually compels us to locate the time of this saying, whatever the Lord said, in a previous place, a previous text, or a previous time, not the time when Genesis 12:1 and the subsequent text around it was written. Because of the fact that it starts with the Lord had said. So even if the Lord spoke again, as of Genesis chapter 12, verse 1 down, that will not be the first. It will be the second, at least, that God was talking to Abraham. So what we did was to backtrack to locate where God must have spoken the first time to Abraham. And looking at the content of the previous text, that's the text prior to Genesis chapter 12, we saw that a particular thing happened with one particular character playing an outsized role. And everything he did actually had to do with what we would actually see in Genesis chapter 12, verse 1. And that text is to be found in Genesis chapter 11, 31 and 32. But before we read that, I want us to situate ourselves in Genesis chapter 12, verse 1, and look at exactly what was said, and then go back to read and see if the actions that took place, we could identify them with the command specified or spelled out in Genesis chapter 12, verse 1. So Genesis chapter 12, verse 1 reads thus: Now the Lord has said unto Abraham, get thee out of thy country. That was the first command. Get thee out of your country. Second command, get thee from your kindred group. That means leave your country, leave your kindred group. And then the third command, leave your father's house. And then the fourth command, I will show you the place to go. Very interesting. With that, let's go back to read Genesis 11, 31 to 32 and see if these commands were not actually about to be fulfilled in Genesis 11, 31, 32. So let's go to Genesis 11, 31, 32, and 31 says, and Terah took Abraham his son, and Lot, the son of Haran, his son's son, and Sarah, his daughter-in-law, his son Abraham's wife, and they went forth with them from Ur of the Chaldees to go into the land of Canaan, and they came unto Haran and dwelt there. And the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. Terah died in Haran. Now, look on the board, look on your screen. I want to show you something. I created this visual drawing, crude, but it will get the work done, right? Can everybody see the drawing on your screen?
Yep.
Okay. There are two drawings. The first one, or the one on top, is Genesis 11:31. The second is Genesis chapter 12, verse 4 and 5. So let's again read Genesis chapter 11, 4 and 5, and let's look at something, and then we'll come back. It says, so Abraham departed as the Lord had spoken unto him. Right? So now we see God, we see Abraham departing, right? As the Lord has spoken to him, according to Genesis 12:4. And Lot went with him, and Abraham was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. Verse 5. And Abraham took Sarah. I want you to mark the word took. That verb, took. And Abraham took Sarah, his wife, and Lot, his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, and the souls that they had gotten in Haran, and they went forth to go into the land of Canaan. And into the land of Canaan they came. Now, I want you to see something, right? In Genesis chapter 12, verse 4 and 5, you see the word took. Sorry. You can see the word took, right? Oh, what's happening? Okay. Let me reduce the size. Why is it?
It's okay. Don't reduce it. Why would you reduce? It's okay.
Okay, if you can see it. Okay. Now, we see the word took, right? But look at the way the arrows, where are they pointing from? From whom are they pointing?
From Abraham.
You realize that Abraham is the center, right? From whom all the arrows are flowing. Is that making sense?
Mm-hmm.
Abraham took Lot. What was the relationship of Lot to Abraham? Right? He was the nephew of Abraham because Lot was the son of Abraham's older brother, Haran. Now, Sarah, what was the relationship of Sarah to Abraham?
That was the wife.
That was the wife. Okay. Now let's look at servants. Why servants? Because the Bible tells us all the souls that they had guarded, Abraham had guarded in Haran, right? So he took them also. And I want you to pay attention to what is happening here. Abraham took Sarah. Abraham took Lot. Abraham took his servants. And Abraham took substance. That's what the Bible said, his possessions. Now, the servants and the substance were his possessions. But Lot and Sarah were his relatives. Do we agree? Do we agree?
Yeah, but Sarah was the wife.
Yes.
Whether the wife or not, she still will be a relative, right? In actual fact, we will get to know that Sarah was a brother, was a sister to Abraham. So down the line, we'll look at the relationship between the characters themselves, right? And an interesting picture will emerge. The point we are making is God had said, move away from your relatives. Leave your relatives, right? Leave your relatives. We see his nephew going with him. His wife, who also happened to be his sister. So you understand that that will be a relative, right? Do we agree?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
This were going with him, in addition to the servants that he had acquired and the properties, the substance he had acquired in Haran. Look at the first drawing. Now I'm going to the second drawing, the first one, and I said, this is Genesis chapter 11, 31 and 32. Because when you read that, who was performing all the actions? Who was doing the taking?
Sarah.
Am I making the picture clear? In Genesis 11, 31, 32, we were given the relationship between Terah and everybody. In Genesis 12, 4 and 5, we are given the relationship between Abraham and everybody. Does it make sense? Which is to say that something was happening. Meanwhile, when God spoke, he didn't speak to Terah. God spoke in Genesis chapter 11, the first time, chapter 11 between 29 and 30 and 31. That was when God spoke. But the person who performed the actions was Terah and not Abraham, the one God spoke to. Are we getting the picture clear? Pastor Mike, you are welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Doc.
Are you getting the argument we are trying to advance?
Yes, I joined not long.
Okay. The question we are trying to answer, did Abraham, one way or the other, disobey God? Or if he didn't, did he fully obey God? But we are trying to make sense of this text. And the point all of us have to learn, and I will, from now on, is something I will teach, is to be able to derive new knowledge from old knowledge. Old knowledge is what we call explicitly stated facts. They are facts that have been explicitly stated. But from the explicitly stated facts, we can also get implicit facts. That means they are facts that have been implied, but have not been explicitly stated, but they are true nonetheless. I'll give you an example. If I tell you, or if I make the statement, oh, Roberta Crohn's wife, right? I don't have to state to you that I am married. True or false?
True.
The fact that I mentioned the word wife, it actually implies that I am married. True or false?
Yeah, true.
True.
So these are things we sometimes don't pay attention to. And the author doesn't have to necessarily explicitly state that Robert Akron is married, and therefore Robert Akron has a wife. When the author says Robert Akron has a wife, he has also said that Robert Akron is married, though he doesn't have to say that part explicitly. Are we getting the picture? So an author can say things, and those things can further say things that are not explicitly stated. Is that making sense?
Yes.
Very interesting. And so it's a skill that we already know, but we are not really conscious. Now we are going to be conscious of those skills and apply them profitably, which is to say, the author doesn't have to say some things in the Bible, especially, for example, in this text, for us to know that in actual fact, he has said them simply because he has implied them. Making sense? Okay. So, did Abraham obey God with respect to the first command, leave your country?
Yes. Yeah, he obeyed the first one.
Okay. So the first thing we will learn what would obedience look like when it applies to the first command? Is that making sense? And to learn that, I created what we call, I took the time to extract all the facts one by one in Genesis chapter 1, Genesis chapter 11, verse 31 to 32, as well as Genesis chapter 12 from 1 to 6, 8 verses. I took the trouble to extract all the facts. So look at those facts. Maybe if you also do that, you might come with more than I have brought here. This, can you see what is on the board?
Mm-hmm.
What does it read?
Extracted facts.
Extracted facts. Now, you realize that I've started with the took, right? That's Genesis chapter 11, 31. This, don't pay attention. I mean, for now, you don't have to worry why, the way I've structured it. This, we use it in programming. I'm a programmer. I mean, I do what we call logic programming. We use a certain application called SweetProlog. So I used it to extract these facts. Now, the first one, the way you read it, if you look at it, you start with what we call, you take your sentence, and then you take the predicate of the sentence, and then you take what we call the arguments of the predicate, and you put them in rounded brackets, right? Is that making sense?
Mm-hmm.
Are we getting the picture clear?
Mm-hmm.
These are the rounded brackets. What we call them parentheses, right? Okay. Now, so this, the way you read it, right? You have the predicate. Don't forget, every sentence has the subject, the predicate, and the object. Do we get the point?
Mm-hmm.
Every sentence has three parts: the subject, the predicate, and the object. So Genesis chapter 11, verse 31, right? This is what it says. It says, 31, and Terah took Abram his son. So the way you read it, the first line says, Terah took Abram. So the order in the parentheses matters. You start with the subject, right? But outside the subject, you first state the predicate. So Terah took Abram. The predicate there, which is the verb, is took, right? In that sentence, Terah is the subject because the subject is performing the action, right? And the object is the thing that the subject is acting on. So Terah took Abram. This is the way you read it. Are you getting me? Terah took Abram. The second one says, and Lot, the son of Haran. Abram took, son, because, because it said, and Terah took Abram, his son. Okay, so Abram is the son of Terah. That's the second line. Are we getting the picture clear? Mm-hmm. Because the son here is the predicate. Abram is the son of Terah. That's the second line. Then took. Where does it say? It says, and Sarah, his daughter-in-law. So Terah took Lot, right? First, he took Abram, and Abram was his son. Then he took Lot. Lot was Terah's son's son. So in actual fact, Lot was Terah's grandson. Is that making sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then the next one, Terah took Sarah, right? And the Bible tells us Sarah was Terah's daughter-in-law, Abraham's wife. Pause a minute. I want you to think about what the author has put here. God had spoken, you are to leave your country. And he didn't speak to Terah. He spoke to whom? Abraham. But who is performing? Who is calling the shots? Who is taking everybody here?
Terah.
So let's again go back to the drawing to see what was happening. So if we go back to the drawing, right, do you realize that from Terah's perspective, everybody was equal apart from him, because the arrow is pointing to everybody. Do you get the picture? Okay. Meanwhile, I want you to look at a certain thing. Who was Sarah? Who was Sarah?
Sarah was Abraham's wife.
But who took Sarah? Was it Abraham or Terah?
Terah.
Thank you.
Terah.
Why should that be?
Because Terah was the boss. He was the father of the house.
So you see how the author has actually subtly put into our place a very contentious issue. Right? As far as Terah was concerned, everybody revolved around him. Are you getting the picture? Though Abraham was married, it wasn't Abraham who took Sarah. It was Terah who took Abraham and also took Sarah and took Lot. And the Bible said, look at it carefully. The commands were what? Leave your country, leave your kindred or your relative, leave your father's house, and then go to the land I will show you. We will realize that the land God was going to show was what? What was the name of the land God would show Abraham? In fact, from everything in Genesis 11:31 and 32, God had already told Abraham where they should go. Though he said, I will show you, God had shown Abraham where they had to go. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you find that? In Genesis 31. Genesis 11:31. Let's all read, right? Let's read to be able to answer that question. Genesis 11.
The word took.
Mm-hmm.
The word took.
Uh-huh.
What does the word took there mean?
That means he actually determined who went with him.
It could be they all unanimously agree that we are going with you. It doesn't mean that he compelled them and took them along.
No. When an author chooses a word, you have to pay attention to it, right? It was Terah who took. It wasn't anybody who decided, I'm going or I'm not going. Well,
the meaning of took is to remove someone or something from a particular place.
Lovely. So who was uprooting everybody from Air?
Terah.
Ah, right?
Hmm.
Very interesting. And I said, though in Genesis 12, verse 1, the Bible will tell us that God said the fourth part of the command was that I will show you to the land, I will show you, right? But we are saying that God had already shown Abraham the ultimate destination, which was Canaan, as at Genesis 11:31. Why? Let's prove it. 31 said, and Terah took Abraham his son, and Lot the son of Haran his son's son, and Sarai his daughter-in-law, and his son Abraham's wife, and they went forth with them from Ur of the Chaldees. Read the next one. Read the next.
To go into the land of Canaan.
Go into the land of Canaan. That means they knew the ultimate destination. Does it make sense now? You see how the author is shaping the text. So before they set off from Ur, God had already shown them where he was taking them.
Had he already shown them, or he had already showed Abraham?
Well, Abraham, because he spoke with Abraham, he talked to Abraham. So
maybe
Abraham
Abraham told his father,
yes,
God said we should go to Canaan.
To Canaan, right? Because though it was God, it was Abraham that God spoke to, the man calling the shots as to the execution of the command to leave country, who was in charge?
His father, Terah.
Right? It was not Abraham. Though the command had come to Abraham, it was Terah who was executing it. Is that making sense? Very important. So we can say, oh, as far as the first command, leave your country, right? Abraham, because they left and they located themselves in outside Ur, we could say they had, okay, the command had been obeyed. The half part of the command had been obeyed in the sense that leave your country. But God didn't stop there. He said, leave your country to a new place that I will show, right? So if you just physically leave the place, that's only half. True? You perform just half. Is that true?
That's true, yep.
To obey the command, you would have to perform both parts, right? One command, but it has two parts. Leave your country and then go where I will show you. So if you leave your country, but you don't go, supposing God says, Pastor Mike, first lady, and everybody, supposing God says, leave Ghana and go to Nigeria, and then you leave Ghana and you settle in Benin, have you left Ghana?
Yes.
But
I left Ghana.
But have you obeyed with respect to the second part? Because that command will be in two parts: living and settling. Are you getting me? Leave Ghana, settle in Nigeria. So if you leave Ghana, but you don't settle in Nigeria, have you obeyed the command?
No.
Half.
That's what we are dealing with. And that's how the author subtly painting a picture for us. So let's look at what obedience with respect to the first command will look like based on the facts we extracted from this text. So let me bring Okay. By the way, I got 65 facts. So 2
Wow.
raised to the power 65 is more than the grain, the grain of sand you'll find on a sizable beach. It's more than 9 trillion. It's around 9 trillion. Facts. That's from 8 verses. There are more than 9 trillion ideas. Don't ask me why. You are looking at the power of knowledge. Okay. So I said, pay attention to this part, right? I said, how would obedience look like, right? With respect to the first command, right? So I've put there, obeyed, right? If X, it can be anybody. If Robert Akron, X stands for Robert Akron, anybody, was asked to leave his country, right, and go to Canaan, what would obedience or execution of that command look like? So this is what I came up with. I use the word must leave because the first command was that he must leave his country. Is that making sense? Is that true?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So for Abraham to obey, so the X here stands for Abraham. For Abraham to obey God, right? Abraham must leave his country. The X again stands for Abraham, right? Abraham, or for that matter, anybody, supposing it's you, Pastor Mike, right? If God asks you to leave your country, obedience with respect to that command will look this way. You must leave your country, which will be Air in the case of Abraham, Ghana in the case of Pastor Mike, right? And not dwell in Haran. In this case, Pastor Mike, not dwell in Benin. You can pass through Benin, but you don't dwell there, right? Is that making sense?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Not dwell in Haran and then go to Canaan. Would you agree that would be, if you follow this sequence, you leave your country, you don't dwell anywhere, but you go and you settle in Canaan or wherever God asks you. Would you agree that will constitute obedience? Do you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's obedience.
That's obedience. Now, what would be disobedience look like? Disobedience will look like you leave your country, but you dwell in Haran, you dwell in Benin. Are you getting it? Because the word dwell is to live in a place for a considerable length of time. Is that making sense? In the case of Abraham, if his father had not died, Abraham would not have left. Do we get a picture? Right? So disobedience would actually be what happened in Genesis chapter 11:31, when Terah was calling the shots and not Abraham. Though God spoke to Abraham. Is that making? And as I said, the author doesn't have to explicitly state that Abraham disobeyed God, but he has given us clues to make that claim. And we are using facts in the text to back our argument. Are you getting the way we are going about it?
Mhm.
Pastor Mike, you agree?
Yes.
Dr. Boyson, is it coming along?
Yeah, it's coming. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay. Now, with the first command out of the way, let's look at the second command. What would the second command? Leave your relative, right? So what would obedience look like as far as leaving your relatives? Right? What would it look like based on what we did? Pastor Mike, if God asks you to leave your relatives, what would it look like? If
It's
you are
leaving your family, leaving everyone behind.
okay, now let's see if the people that left with Terah and Abraham, whether they included people who will call relatives of Abraham. Right? Are you not getting the picture? Is that making sense?
Yes.
So
Yes,
with
please.
that, let's look at our our drawing again. Right? Abraham, what will be the relationship of Abraham to Lot? We can glean it from the second one, right? Nephew, right?
Mhm.
Do we get the picture?
Mhm. Yes.
Is your nephew a relative?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Now, Abraham went with his father, right? Because Terah was the father, Abraham was the son. Would your father qualify as your relative?
Yep.
So if these people left with Abraham, would Abraham have left his relatives? Would you say he left them?
He took them. He didn't leave them. He took them.
So with respect to that second command, what would obedience look like? Let's get back to our facts. You see the way I'm going back and forth? Pastor Mike, are you learning something from that?
Yes, please.
The way we are going back and forth to make our points. Very important, right? So let's look at our third point, right? I called it failing God. Okay, no, I think I'll use this one rather. Thumb down, right? To thump your nose, right? Or thumb down, right? We do it in thumb down is right. It's like I'm not with you on that, right? So thumb down, Abraham, right? If he left his country and in living, he took Lot with him, right? Wouldn't that be disobedience? Because the command was, leave your kindred, leave your relatives. And if he was going and he took Lot with him and took his father with him, right? Would that amount to obeying the command to leave your relative?
No.
No, no.
So with the second command, would you say Abraham obeyed God or he disobeyed?
No, no.
He disobeyed.
We are not saying the author has implied them. Pastor Mike, you see the beauty of, I mean,
Yeah. Yes.
getting to understand how the Bible was written and why it's important for us to get some certain skills to be able to deal with the truths, the deep truths of the Bible. And when he was going, he also took Terah, he took Sarah, he took Lot. These were relatives. So if God said, leave your relatives and you took these people with you, doesn't it paint a picture as if God, Abraham, wanted some sort of what? Security around himself, right? And he wasn't ready to let go of the familiar, right? Could it be he didn't trust God that deeply that he was thinking like you and I, right? He was thinking like me. Hey, if you ask me to go and I don't know anybody there, can I take some people that can bring me some comfort, right? Which is to say, God, you know something, you may not be all sufficient to me. I'm just speculating. But the larger lesson is that you are looking at the human being, the typical human being, right? How it is tough for us to take some serious radical risks, even if it is coming from God Almighty.
So in this case, should Abraham be blamed?
Should Abraham do what?
Be blamed. I mean, looking at it from the human perspective, can we blame
Nobody is
Abraham?
blaming him, but they've called him the father of faith. Isn't it true?
Even the
Isn't
father
it
of faith
true?
disobeys. Even the father of faith disobeys.
Yeah, that is
Now,
why he's a human. He's human.
thank you.
And the last time I was saying that what I learned from it is that even through our mistakes or our faults as humans, God delivers us and he eventually helps us through our weaknesses.
Okay, I will agree with you. But is there a price to disobedience?
Oh yeah,
Not for
Abraham
that
paid the
reason.
price. Yeah.
Is there a price to pay?
Yeah, he paid the price.
I mean,
Through
What was the price?
the
What
Bible
was the
does
price? What was the price he paid?
Say that again.
He gave his wife out as his sister.
I said, what was the price that
The
he paid for
price
the
he will
disobedience?
pay, as far as I'm concerned, is it took him a long time to become a father. So don't forget,
Why is
God
that?
has said,
What?
I will bless you. I shall make your name great. In you shall all families of the earth be blessed. And yet he
Pastor
didn't
Kron,
have...
do we have it established in the Bible that that was the punishment he got for disobedience? Do we have a text?
Don't forget, the author doesn't have to state it. We are now learning to glean deep truths from words that have been stated and learning deep truths that have not been stated from what has been stated. That is what
Wouldn't that be an educational guess or assumption?
Well, but that's what it is. Education is about making leaps. You are a researcher. Isn't research about trying to prove a thesis you've put together, and you go about it one way to either prove it or disprove it?
Yeah, because somebody can also come up with the axiom that God was just trying Abraham, so that's why he extended his years until he had a child. So there's no text proving that Abraham had to pay. That was the price he paid for disobeying God.
Nobody is, no, you can make that argument, but you have facts to back that up. That's the whole point. Do you have facts? Make any claim. But for you to make an intelligent claim, right? Not just a claim, but a valid one, you must have facts to back your arguments.
So do you have facts to back your arguments?
Of course, I have facts. I'm saying that if God himself stated in Genesis chapter 12, verse 2-3, I will bless thee, I will make your name great, in you shall all families of the earth be blessed.
But he didn't say in 5 years, 10 years, or God did not put a time limit on him.
No, my point is, did God make those promises?
He did make, but he didn't put a time that I'm going to make you the father of all nations in 2 years.
That's fine. We are not disputing that. But again, I will go back and I will tell you from Genesis chapter 5 to Genesis chapter 11, we are given the genealogy. And when you study the genealogy, you come to chapter 11 where the genealogy that started after the flood. Don't forget, after the flood, there were only 3 people left. I mean 8 people in total, right? Noah's 3 sons and their wives, and then Noah and his wife, right? So only 8 people. Now, if you go to Genesis chapter 11, that's where the families of the earth after the flood was started. And the author took the Shem, who was the second born, from whose line Abraham descended. And you go there, Shem was born before the flood. In fact, let's read it, and I'll use it to make a point. If you read the whole of Genesis chapter 11, you realize that the people who were born after the flood, which will include Abraham and his, all of them to the letter gave birth between the ages of 29 and 35. 29 and 35. By age 29 to 35, that was the range. Everybody had given birth. Until you come to Terah, who was an outlier because he gave birth at age 70. Are you getting the picture, the argument I'm making? If you go back to the genealogy, the genealogy given of the people who were born after the flood, everybody, every one of them gave birth to his first son between the ages of 29 and 35 until you came to Abraham. Who gave
Terah, Abraham.
To Terah, who gave birth at age 70. So that will make Terah an outlier, right? Do we agree?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then God now comes in and calls Abraham. I will bless you. I will do this through you. All is all. All the families of the earth will be blessed. And he will become a worse outlier than his father, will give birth at age 86. And even that, it wasn't with the wife he knew. It was with Hagar. To the point that God came to Abraham, and Abraham was complaining to God that you, God, you said you do this, you bless me, and then meanwhile I have no son. And a man who was born in my house, Eliezer, will become my heir. And God now had to come in and assure you. Isn't it a valid argument to say that if God could make such promises, yet this happened, could we go back and say and actually investigate whether something must have been done, or Abraham may have done something, or something may have happened that could actually
Pastor Kron,
lead?
I follow all your assertions. And I know God is God, so he doesn't have to explain anything to anybody. But isn't it also ironic that God will promise Abraham all this and punish him with a long gap of not giving him a child, and not even daring to
Was
tell
it
Abraham
punishment?
that
It
I
wasn't
am punishing
punishment.
you. I'm punishing you because of this.
Dr. Charles, I don't think it's punishment.
You see,
I mean, that's what
with
Pastor
God,
Kron is making us understand. That was his punishment
Hi,
for
it's
disobeying.
Winnie.
I am only making an argument. I
Can
am
you
not
guys hear
saying
me?
because it's not
Yeah, we
stated.
can hear you.
Daddy, can you hear
Okay,
me?
Yeah,
go
Sister
ahead.
Q, we can hear you.
Oh, it's Winnie.
Oh, it's
Well,
Okay.
Winnie.
when I was reading the genealogy, at least Joshua says that his father was an idol worshiper and his father had him late. So what I think it was more so just a generational like curse of that, and maybe like Abraham couldn't break it, that that's why he had his child so late. But God still showed up in the end. But it was, if you look at the genealogy of Abraham, everybody had children pretty early, and then when it came to his father was an idol worshiper,
Thank
at
you.
least what Joshua says. And then so his father had him late. So then that's when you see the lateness of birth.
Okay. You
Awesome.
have a good
Yeah,
point
Jomo,
there.
thank you. That's a good point.
No, you have
Yeah,
a good point there,
the
but
idol
now
worship thing.
I'll tell you an interesting call it counter, right? You have to realize something. What if you study the genealogy? It's something that I would reserve it maybe when we've advanced to a certain, but when you study the genealogy itself, and I created the table and everything, there is an interesting takeaway from that. That there were two people who didn't give birth to daughters. And both the pre-flood and the post-flood, they paid the price.
Pastor, can you take your hand from your mouth so we can hear you?
I said, this is not part of this test, but since Winnie brought it, I want to go a bit deeper into the narrative, if you do data analytics with the narrative, what you get out of it. Because this is the way the genealogy was given. It says it will start this way. And for example, and Seth was 130 years, 105 years, and he gave birth to blah, blah, blah at age, right? And then after he gave birth, he lived for blah, blah, blah number of years. And he had sons and daughters. And all the years of Seth, blah, 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 will give. It followed all the way to the father of Terah, who was called Nahor. It followed. There were two people, both in the pre-flood and the post-flood, who didn't give birth to daughters. The first one was Noah. And therefore, Noah, because of the fact that he had no daughters, he gave birth to his first child at age 500. And then you have Terah, who didn't give birth to daughters. He gave birth at age 70. Abraham didn't give birth to daughters. He gave birth at age 86. There are things in this text, as I said, I don't want to, but you brought it up. I'm just opening the Bible up for you to realize that God works with principles. Winnie, are you getting it? Hello, Winnie.
Yeah, we get it. It's a little noisy
Okay.
here, but we get it.
Okay. So I'm just trying for us to understand this Bible is deep, right? So the point I'm making is, if Terah was an idol, where did he learn it from? That means his father Nahor was also an idol worshiper. And Nahor's father was an idol worshiper. And Nahor's father's father was an idol worshiper.
Not necessarily.
In fact, you could say that most people on the earth were idol worshippers. So God called Abraham to reveal himself unto him. Why? Because, don't forget, Noah knew God. Yet God destroyed everybody. So over time, the knowledge of God actually became something else. And you know an interesting thing? Between Noah and Abraham, only 352 years separated them. But that's not the test for today. I'm just giving. So in a matter of 352 years, the knowledge of God almost vanished from the face of the earth until God decided to reassert and reintroduce himself by calling Abraham. So it wasn't only Terah who was an idol worshiper. Are we getting how deep this can become? So yes, and the author down the line will say that Abraham's father was an idol worshiper, and therefore Abraham himself was an idol worshiper. You can trace it all the way back. And these are things in the Bible that you need other tools to really extract them. And I've done that, right? But of course, I'm summarizing things for you. But what we are trying to understand, Dr. Boyson, your argument, is that because the author has not explicitly stated that Abraham didn't become a father, or he became a father late in life, right? The author hasn't stated that, and because of that, we can't make that argument. I understand you, but I am also making an argument, and that's how knowledge develops, right? I am making that argument based on facts I can glean from the text, that if God can make such promises, if God can make such promises when he called Abraham, right? Why would Abraham suffer the fate of his father if God had expressly called him and made those promises to him? Why would he become a worse outlier than his father? And later we will learn there is the principle of sowing and reaping. So if Abraham sowed disobedience, could it be that the reaping was delay in becoming a father? Dr. Boise, you getting my argument now?
Yeah, I mean we can only assume, but yeah, I mean
we don't assume. We are just trying to stretch the boundaries of knowledge. That's what we are trying to do. You getting me? We don't want to be boxed in by explicit text, and we are learning the skill that explicit text also speak implicit language. And therefore, we will use the implicit language to extract implied facts from supplied facts. . Are you getting
So I remember when you usually used to let us not try to apply implicit knowledge in our
no,
text.
and I said, don't go outside the text to bring new knowledge into new facts into the text if you have not already done so as part of your text.
Okay,
Else
if it's not
you'll be-
facts, okay. So
you'll be telling a
we
different
can now go outside and bring the implicit knowledge to
No. With the implicit knowledge, you don't go outside the text. You look at the text and you are extracting what the author has not said, but has said based on what he has said. And
through
that's
the
why
knowledge.
if the author says Gabo has a wife, right? The author has explicitly stated that. But the implicit, what the author has not said, but has actually said, is that Gabo is married. Just by saying that Gabo has a wife, right? He has also said, without saying,
okay. So it's not bringing outside knowledge. Okay, I got it. It's not bringing outside knowledge, but it's using the explicit to gain the implicit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you now getting there? That's also the frontiers and the boundaries of knowledge. You can stretch it by looking at what is already there. And you realize that an author doesn't have to say everything he wants to say. Are you understanding? By saying certain things, he also has willingly said other things.
Okay, so can we, like I always try to, so in how can we address it to our everyday life? That means disobedience what is the whole the disobedience can cost us.
Okay, let's bring it to, let's say your boss at work tells you, Gabo, I want you to transport this medication from hospital A to hospital B, right? And then that's all he says. Then you take the medication from hospital A and you go and rest at hospital C for some time. And then you finally go to hospital B. What do you think your boss will do to you?
I'll be fired.
Thank you. I've made my case. Case closed. So your boss doesn't have to say, don't go and spend some time anywhere. But by telling you, take it from hospital A to hospital B, right? He has precluded you from going to hospital C. If you go there and you delay, your paycheck.
It costs you.
Thank you. So that is the point we are trying to understand. Why would Abraham become a worse outlier than his father? When God explicitly made these promises, to the point Abraham had to cry to God, you've made me these promises, but I am an old man now, and it doesn't look like I will have a son of my own, such that a servant is going to be my head. Can you reconcile a blessed man with this, call it issue to resolve? No, right? So we are saying, though the author has not explicitly stated that Abraham paid the price, we can almost look at what is happening in the text and say that, yeah, possibly Abraham paid the price for his disobedience. And the author has not explicitly stated that Abraham disobeyed. But we are now looking at the facts and we are saying, if the requirement, the command was this, and you do this, you haven't satisfied the demands of the question or the command. And if you don't satisfy the demands of the command, is it obedience?
No.
Thank you. We've made our case. Pastor Mike, you have something to say?
Well, this is my first time, so I'm listening.
But is it challenging?
Well, it's okay. We will still go into it and study a little.
Okay. Okay. But for now, I am forcing us out of our comfort zone, right? We are not just going to be consumers of knowledge. We are also going to be creators of knowledge.
Creators.
Are you getting the picture?
Yes.
We are not only going to be consumers of knowledge. We are also going to be creators of knowledge. And don't forget, God said, my people perish for what?
Lack of knowledge.
So lack is absence, right? Absence of knowledge. If we become creators of knowledge, aren't we going to affect that perishing? We'll literally eliminate it. Do you get the picture? Pastor Mike, you agree?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So we are not only going to wait for others to create the knowledge for us and we consume. We ourselves are going to turn into knowledge creators, not just knowledge consumers. And this applies whether it is, if you work in the ministries, right? The same thing we are learning, you apply the principles there, it applies. Learning to take an ordinary test, right? And plumbing the depths of that text to see other things that the text says, but have not been explicitly stated. That's how you grow your power, by way of knowledge. Because they say knowledge is what?
It's power.
Knowledge is power.
Absolute knowledge is power.
That's all.
Absolute power.
So let's get this picture. The Bible authors don't have to explicitly state things for us to know they said it. We'll look at what they said and claim what they said without saying it.
Powerful. Amen.
I think this is a good place to stop today.
Thank you.
God bless. God bless, Pastor Kron. We are blessed.
So we have our tradition here. The person who joins us for the first time will have the honor of praying for us.
Wow. Thank you.
Give me a minute.
Am I the only one who joined the
give me a minute. Let me stop. Give me a minute. Stop sharing.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord.